Today is third of 4 workshops for grant writers. And the topic of workshops, as Paulina said already, it's how to win EU grants for social impact IT startup. We already had 2 workshops, and first one was generally for owners of startups, for leadership of startups, about grants. What is grant, and where to look for it, and how to deal with that. And second, third, and fourth workshop are more for grant writers, those people in the organization, in the startup or your company who physically write the project proposals. So this is the third out of 4. And today we will talk about very important part of the process, the need analysis, and how to present your problem in the right way, in the attractive way to the funder, and also how to make sure that your solution is really attractive, that you really manage to catch what funders want with the money they are giving for this grant, and also how to present it in the best possible way to increase your chances to receive the grant. So this is the promise for today. We start every workshop with a promise, and today we will talk about concrete recommendations and insights on how to build a strong need analysis in the project application. And because without need analysis, everything else, action plan, budget, how you build your team, it will not help you to win, because need analysis is where evaluators start to read the proposal, and this is where you pitch. This is where you convince them that this is your idea is what they are looking for. And then everything else, action plan and budgets, it comes after. If they're convinced, then they continue to read and evaluate the rest of the project application. So this is a very important part. And I will talk and tell everything without filters, exactly as my team in MIRA works, in MIRA Sweden, how we work with every grant proposal we are writing for our portfolio or for our clients. So I hope these advices and insights and recommendations will help you to build your own project applications without needing to pay grant writers, because it's expensive, and and it's also sometimes a problem to find a good grant writer. So it's good to develop a skill in your own startup or your own organization. Before we start, it's a little question to you. If you want to answer in the chat, I would be grateful. Which part of the proposal is hardest to write? It's just a little warm-up. Do you think it's need analysis? Do you think it's action plan? Or do you think it's hardest to make a budget for the project? If you just write quickly in the chat, and Lilia probably can tell the answer, so I don't need to switch between presentations, so you can see my screen all the time. What part is the hardest to write? If you can guess, or if you have a written application, then you know the answer. Do we have any answers, Lilia, or?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Good. Then I think I will give the answer so we can proceed. It's need analysis, and I already partly shared this. Yes, need analysis, it's the hardest part. It's where you pitch your idea, and then where you make sure that your idea is what you are solving the right problem, and that your idea is suitable to solve that problem. So basically, it's your pitch presentation, and everything else is a business plan. Then it's easier to write when you have a clear need analysis. Yes, this basically is the answer, that it's no right or wrong, but it is actually the right answer, that without a good foundation, without need analysis, without describing the problem and your solution, everything else is not falling apart if it's not the right from the very beginning. Before we go into the secrets of this field, how to write a good need analysis, how to formulate, Then I want to show you the technical part of your proposal, the technical part where this need analysis is placed, where is the context on the portal, which you already know. So you will understand how to do step by step until you arrive there, until you start writing. So it's more chronological steps. So first of all, you go and you remember it, those of you who participated in the first workshop, we looked at this portal, EU portal, where all projects are published. And there is one part, find call of proposal and find call of tenders. We speak about proposals. These proposals are open for organization in different nation states of the European Union or for the whole European Union. And it's an open competition where you look for the grant which is suitable for you and apply and compete with everyone else. So basically you enter the portal. When you have entered the portal, you make a quick scan to make sure that the topic, the call for proposals in which you want to apply, that it's relevant for you or that you are eligible organization for this call. And when it comes to eligibility, we talked about this as well in the first two workshops. There is technical eligibility and content eligibility. Technical, we covered technical eligibility in the first workshop, is that criteria to see if you are eligible when it comes to country, for example, geographical eligibility, because Ukraine is not eligible for all programs in this portal, but for many of them it is open, and it's good before you start planning your application and writing it, it's good to check if you're eligible, if Ukraine is eligible, and then your organization is eligible as well. Then you need to check other eligibility criteria, like if you apply solo as organization or in a consortium, which kind of consortium is required. Do you need, for example, mixture of research organization, public organization, and private, or just private? Or do you need profit of non-for-profit? You really need to check criteria, these technical criteria, and make sure that you yourself and the consortium you are building to apply for this project together with you, that you are eligible. So this is the first check. And this is the first workshop if you want to dig deeper into that topic. Then when you know that technically you are eligible, you go to the next check, it's content eligibility. And this was workshop last week, the second workshop about content eligibility. It's basically about the topic. Is it about agriculture? Is it about human rights? Is it about deep tech? Is it about medicine and deep tech? All these calls of proposals you see here in my screenshot, 1,000 plus items, they're very different, and they are given by the European Commission for different purposes and for different areas. So you need to find basically your area. And when you have identified your area, you need to check the priorities of that specific call. If it's agriculture, you really need to read, is this call for improving, for example, sustainability of your crops, or is it to educate farmers, or is it digitalization of farmers? Basically, you need to check what exact priority is this call supporting, and then to see if your organization, your product or your service, your IT solution which you are developing, because your IT startups, most of you who are watching this workshop. So basically to see that your product or service is suitable for this call and for this priority. And when you know that, of course, you need to check other things like deadline, because don't start writing the project 1 month before the deadline, because I'm most sure that you will not manage on time, because it's an extremely hard process. And it's not hard because it's not possible, but it's hard because it's different pieces you need to follow and to get in place in order to manage a good project application, to be competitive on this market, to be competitive in the eyes of the funder. So the recommendation is to prepare like around 6 months approximately. Or for some organization and some calls like Horizon, those bigger calls, it's even longer than that. So be on time. So step 2, technical and content eligibility. When you know that you're eligible and you want to go for that opportunity, Then you start to basically form your application. And form your application, it's very easy. Here you see start submission. In this portal, when you read about your call, which you have chosen, it's always the same button here, start submission. You press here and you start submission, and then it will lead you to this big screen on which you see in front of you right now. And here you need basically to fill in technical detail. You need to choose the organization which is submitting. It's coordinator or applicant, the one who represents the whole consortium, all other organizations. And here you can see our organization. Then you need to fill in main contact person, acronym of the project, and short summary. And then when you filled in all these details, then the application will be generated and saved in the system. One little moment to remember, which is technical, that in order to compete, in order to create this application in the portal, you need to have this number, PIC number. You see this is MIRA Sweden number. This number is basically your ID number. It's like passport number. In all applications which we are submitting, we are putting this number. And this is how European Commission tracks all organizations who are there. It's basically a little portfolio like our passport, digital passport, and European Commission sees what kind of organization we are, if we're democratic, who is the owner, how we are structured, and all other details are available in the system. So basically you need to generate this number, and you can also do it through the portal. It's very easy process, but you can also get help from experts in order to start generating application. Yes, number one, PIC number you need to create, and then you have basically generated your portal. And here you can see to the left, download Part B templates. This is where your need analysis is hiding, because this application consists of two parts. You will see them both now. It's part A, it's administrative part, and it's digital part of the application. And those B templates, it's so-called part B, it's content part of the application. And here is normally we have our pitch presentation, this need analysis, which we're going to talk about today. We can have budget templates, and we can have maybe some sponsors, some funders need to fill in other templates as well. So all templates which you need to fill in are normally here to the left. And after you register, then you can download those templates and start writing. So basically step 5, this is what I said, that you need to start filling in your application, which has been generated in the portal. Your application gets a number, and then you are working on it. Part A, here you can see a typical part A for example, Horizon, which MIRA Sweden is preparing right now. Here is general information, participants, budget, ethics and security, and other questions. This is more or less the same parts in part A, admin part, for all applications, but they can also vary. But basically you go in and fill in this admin part. But what we are going to work, and basically part B, this is your pitch. This is what you download, and it's normally a Word document. And this is where you write your proposal, basically. So yes, it's always part A, which is digital, it's on the platform, and it's part B. Among part B, you have this need analysis template. After you have filled in everything on part A, all administrative details, you have participant list, your partners, you have filled in all the information according to the those questions which I have shown in my previous slide. Then you upload your part B template. It's like your pitch. And then here it can be, here it's, for example, in this particular call, which we are preparing right now for Horizon, we will upload this one, this document, but it can be very different. Sometimes here a budget needs to be uploaded. Sometimes here the European Commission wants you to upload CVs of all experts who participate in the project consortium, like from each partner organization. Sometimes they want to upload list of previous projects, but it's really different what they want here, but it's annexes, and it's always like you go there and basically you follow what they want, you upload them here. But part B is always there. All other parts, they can vary, but part B is always a part of the proposal. So after you have filled in everything, you have uploaded all the documents, then you validate the form, you see that everything is on place, otherwise it will be red warning signs that you have forgotten something. This system, this portal is smart, so it will not let you forget anything. And then when you have everything in place, the portal is satisfied, then you press submit, and project is submitted. Then it's been sent to the founder, and then basically the procedure of evaluation starts there. When at least 2 or 3 evaluators read your proposal, they check your technical eligibility, your content eligibility, and then they compare, like then they decide who wins the money. So basically these are the technical steps which you need to follow. And after this procedure, what you have in hand and what takes 95% of the time of this half a year of preparation, it's this part B, which I have already mentioned a couple of times in these workshops. So this is where you start working on. So what is part B? This is actually where you write your idea, when you write need analysis, when you write your plan, and where your business plan, and when you basically convince the founder that you are the right choice to get this money. Before we start to go through the secrets of how to write a good part B, especially the need analysis of that part, I want to send to you 2 very important insights, which I have been noticing from 18 plus years of working in this field and writing many proposals, is that it's always much better result if it's not a grant writer alone who is involved in this writing process. Because in some organization, there is a grant writer dedicated who writes from inside. Sometimes external, like MIRA Sweden, we are external grant writers. We are our services is bought by our clients to write for them. But it's never this grant writer alone who needs to be responsible for the application, because the result will be much poorer compared if the management of the organization, CEO, general manager, and experts involved in this area where application is written, they need to be involved. They need to be involved to make sure that the application really reflects what the company is doing in reality, what your service and product is about, and where you want to take it. Because if it's not the case and the grant writer writes herself or himself, it can be, first of all, much poorer application, because one person maybe cannot grasp the whole idea, and it's hard to write being alone without brainstorming with anyone. It's a process, and it needs to be discussed with a team in order to achieve good results. And also sometimes I've seen even those applications go through, they are much poorer, their chances are smaller, but even if you are lucky and it goes through, then maybe what is written there, what is promised there, your action plan, your objectives, your solution, maybe it's not totally in line with what you do in your everyday life. And so then it's hard to integrate this money into your daily activities, and it becomes something on the side you need to do. And even if it's a good money, you pay salary for your staff, for your team, for this 1 or 2 years or 3 for this project, but the product, you can't really then integrate product in your daily services. And this is the biggest problem of grant money, that then this becomes something on a shelf, nobody uses, and it's really, you lose a lot of time and resources for nothing. So if you want to strategically work with grants and use grants to drive your product or service forward, it needs to be a strategic work, strategic planning, what to apply, but also strategic writing. So you really are driving your business forward with this money. It's a very important insight, even if it's, maybe it's common sense, but it's not the case in practice. This is what I can share with you right now. So part B. Part B, this is like, as I said already, 99% of the time goes to write, actually, to generate this part B, to write the proposal here. And this part B can look very differently, how it looks like. You can see here 2 examples. I just took 2. The first one is a template, part B, for Horizon Europe. And this Horizon Europe is open for Ukrainian startups, and it's also open for deep tech and for IT, for different solutions in different fields, both in medicine, agriculture, and other fields. So it's really a good opportunity for you. And this is how part B starts for Horizon. Here you can see how they want need analysis to be written. They call it excellence. This need analysis is called excellence. So in this excellence part, they want you to describe exactly what are your general objectives, what are your specific objectives, what problem you are solving, why is this problem existing, and then why it's you who are capable to solve, to find the solution. So they call need analysis excellence. Another example, here these 2, it's cover page from another type of applications. It's this is a template for different calls. It can be Erasmus Plus, which is a call for education. And this is like for adult education, for vocational education, for higher education. And if those startups of which work with education and technical solution in this field, for educational providers or for education in general, for adult education of society. So maybe this call is for you. And then this part B is something you need to fill in if you want to apply for money. But this is the same template for even for other calls where Ukrainian startups can take participation in. It can be KRIA, it's Creative Europe. If you work with digital solutions for in a creative sector, this is also something open for Ukrainians, and this is part B template there. It can be also the template for AMIF. It's for migrants and for migration and integration issues of migrants and internally displaced people. So basically, the second option is for different programs, and it looks exactly the same, the part B template, even though the programs differ. And here you can see they call it not excellence, they call this need analysis a part of part B, they call it relevance. And it's divided as well in 2 parts, background and general objective, need analysis, and specific objective. So as we say that the child who is loved, this child has many names and many nicknames. So basically this need analysis, this is a loved child by founders, and it has many names. These are, apart from these 2 examples, there are other part B templates, but it's always one and the same point with those B templates. The point is that founders want clarity. Why this project? Why is this project right now, and for whom? So basically you need to motivate, and this part B is your pitch where you motivate, you answer those questions, which can be, these questions can have different formats. It's different, they can be named differently, but it's one and the same goal with them. Exactly, clarity. And you sell your idea to the founders through this part. And part B is not only need analysis, it's bigger. It's basically the whole application, apart from need analysis, where you pitch your idea, when you convince the founders why you exactly your idea is relevant, why your service or product. It also has other elements like always action plan. Then you describe step by step what you are going to do. And it can be divided in so-called work packages. It can be Gantt chart. It can be in different ways, but yeah, it's an action plan where you show basically how you are going to work during the project time. And also they want always to see in part B expected results, what you are going to achieve, because this is what is evaluated by at the end of the project, and also which impact you want to achieve, because all these projects, which we have talked a lot about already, especially in the first workshop, all these projects are about social impact. Even though you create a digital solution for agriculture, digital solution for medicine, you always want to change the life of people with that solution. You always want to make a social impact with that solution. And that is where you need to exactly explain to the funder which social impact you will achieve with your solution and with those concrete results of this project. And in part B, you also describe your team, your organizations, and you pitch why those exact partners. And also you describe in many proposals exact experts in each partner organizations, which experts will be involved and why, their expertise, basically short CV. And also budget is explained. So part B is pitch, but then also action plan, like basically a business plan. And as we started at the beginning, without good need analysis, without good beginning, where you sell your idea, action plan, and everything else is no point to focus there, because they will be not read, basically. So let us then go to there's like little secrets of writing of solid need analysis, those parts which are related to need analysis in this part B document. I will show you today one example, one case from the project which we have submitted in one of the programs. So I will show you from the concrete fields and like from the concrete field, the exact example, how we have worked in my consortium. But yeah, where you start when you download part B, you start to, what you need to know, that you need to answer the questions, not more, not less. As I said, it can be called relevance, it can be called excellence as in horizon, but basically it's always a set of questions which the funder asks you before in this session, need analysis. And before you start answering, you really need to read those questions, because sometimes people just start writing from the heart something, but then the questions are not really replied. For example, in this specific case here, you see two parts. Need analysis is divided in two parts. The first part is called background and general objective. The second part is called need analysis and specific objective. But this whole part is actually need analysis. So when you read these texts, you will clearly see that the first part, background, wants you to link your idea. They want you to link your proposal to exact priority under which this call was published. So if this is educational call for supporting teachers, digitalization of teachers, so you really need to explain here how exactly your call, your idea is relevant to this specific priority. And in this, European Union always wants to refer to EU strategic documents and policies and action plans. And it's not hard, because all these policies and action plans and priorities, they are always written in the call documents. So in the workshop, both 1 and 2, we already looked very carefully on how to read those priorities and how to find information there. So it's important that in this part, you focus on that. You do not describe everything between heaven and earth about this target group and all problems they meet. You describe only this. You describe what is European need, and that's why this priority exists. What is your objective, how you are solving this European need, and what documents, European documents, and legislative and other document action plan you are working with when you define this need, when you answer to this need, to this priority. And in this part, you also define at the end general objective of the call. General objective is your direction, your vision, your mission. So you do not talk here about specific problems of the target group. You do not talk about a specific problem of teachers or migrant women or children or other target groups you are working with. You're talking about general European problem. You're talking about priority, how you fit into that priority, what's your plan, and then you describe at the end who are your target group, is your general objective, your vision and mission, and for whom, for this target group. Basically, it's really important you read and exactly answer those questions. When you have answered those questions, here ChatGPT can come handy, not before, because some people start with ChatGPT. They copy these questions and then they ask ChatGPT, answer these questions for the group, for example, teachers or women who are victims of violence or children who are migrants, and then ChatGPT always gives something general, something like with very general terminology and really answers about nothing. So it's really, you should not start from there. You should start from information which you really collect, which you really describe in your own words. And for this, we dedicated workshop 2 when we showed with the tree of change how exactly you collect here information through desk research, through previous projects, through asking the audience, your target group. So basically, you write everything you found out to answer these questions from what you found out as a grant writer. And then you can copy your answer and you copy this question to ChatGPT. And then you can ask, okay, this is my answer to this question in this proposal. What is missing? And then ChatGPT will give you analysis like you have missed, for example, description of the target group, or your target group is too vague, or like long-term effect of this program is not there, be clear. Then ChatGPT will be your assistant to help to answer the question even sharper. And this is how grant writers, professional grant writers, use ChatGPT, not the other way around to brainstorm the ideas. Ideas shall be brainstormed with your leadership, with target groups, and with your team and your partners. And then use ChatGPT as a final, like to help you to formulate these thoughts and ideas better. So basically, this is background and general objective. When you have answered this, you go to need analysis and specific objectives. And when you read these questions, here the funder wants to go deeper and more concrete. Here they want a sound analysis of exactly your target group, which you defined in the first session. If it's teachers, migrant women, children, or farmers, who is your target group, then in a need analysis and specific objectives, if you read these questions very carefully, here you need to exactly describe the gap, the exact problem you are solving. Here you pitch why this problem has not been solved yet. Here you mention why this problem has been not solved in previous projects, which have been done surely on this topic before you. And it's either you are the first one to notice this problem or someone tried before you. Then you write the analysis, what those who've been working before you, what they have missed. So this gap you are approaching in this specific proposal. So basically here you are giving need analysis, here you're describing the gap. And after this gap, it's natural to describe specific objective. How exactly will you proceed to cover this gap? So even though they are very similar, these two parts, but they are also very different. And you need to read the questions clearly and also answer them clearly. And as a final step, you ask ChatGPT for analysis if you have covered everything and what can be improved, and then you improve that. So in need analysis here, you really need to, the tree of change, which we discussed the whole workshop too, where we discussed how you need to collect information which is relevant, how you need to analyze information through tree of change, and then that information which is ready, this pile of information from desk research and from your target groups and from previous project, this is what you put in need analysis in 1.2, while in 1.1 it's more how you link your idea to general EU policy, what's your general objective, what's your direction, what's your vision, and who are your target group. So as you see, answer the question, not more, not less, and use the real data to answer those questions. Use desk research, previous projects, and your target group, your partners, your leadership in order to find the data here, which needs to be written in this part. Don't build something just from your head or from ChatGPT. This is very important, and this is the whole difference in the good and convincing need analysis. The real information or very general and vague information. And then the other thing is to write it correctly. But yeah, what kind of information you provide there, this is very important. So this is a need analysis formula which we use in grant writing in MIRA, and this is basically just as you will receive this in this presentation, as Paulina mentioned. Here you can see basically how the gap is identified, what is gap in grants in this kind of projects, and what is solution in this kind of project. So gap, basically, if you check fund the priority, what we talked about the workshop 2 and today very much, plus evidence, all the statistics, prior projects, insight from target group. These both will give you a clear picture what is this exact very narrow gap or problem you are solving. And this is where you build your need analysis on. And this gap, this concrete problem, plus your unique solution will become achievable specific objectives or goals of your project. And also the last part, which I always also read in order to write a good need analysis, is award criteria. Because in this call of proposals where I showed to you in both workshop 1 and workshop 2, you can see both technical requirements, content requirements with all this, like what they want for your content, which priorities they want you to work with. It's also at the end of the document, normally it's also award criteria. Award criteria is those criteria which evaluators use when they evaluate. They follow those criteria when they give you points, because for each part you will get a number of points. And then when you get the decision from the European Commission, you will get the decision, you will get points for each part from the evaluator 1 and evaluator 2, or sometimes it's generated as common point. And they will explain to you what was good and what was weak in your need analysis. And they will follow exactly those award criteria when they read, when they evaluate. So this is the glasses you need to put on when you write, how they will see your need analysis. And I will show today example of award criteria in one of our applications. But basically, yes, this is a good need analysis formula. Clear gap, clear solution with specific objectives, and award criteria. The award criteria we have not talked about before, but yes, it's very important to read before start writing part B. And now let's go step by step by example where I will demonstrate in practice how you follow this formula in practice when you write part B. And as example, I take AMIF call, which was closed in in October, beginning of October, where we submitted the project which was called Trust Accelerator. And this is a digital solution. It was a tech solution, but we channel this tech solution toward a social call because it's a social purpose with that tech solution. So I will show you how we resonated when we wrote part B and when we defined this need analysis in part B. So you can follow our example and build your own solution in the same way. So basically, when this call AMIF was out, this call was about support of migrant women towards labor market and towards social inclusion. And the call was about especially Ukrainian women, Ukrainian migrants in Europe, who, despite the very high level of education and very long experience, they have difficulties to find employment or to start their own business. So basically, the call was about like, hey, you organization who work with this in European Union, what is your solution to this problem? Why women are still having so low chances to get employed or to start their own business despite this high level of qualification? So then when we read that call, this is exactly the group we are working with, and we have a lot of activities, both for women entrepreneurs, in training, consultancy. So we decided to go for it, even though our solution, what we needed, what we want to develop and what we work with, it's purely tech. It's deep tech when we develop this platform, which I will show you after reading our work criteria. So then when we knew we want this call, we want because it's relevant for us, for our business, and it's something we have a consortium and it's like in the scope of what we are doing. So then we read this award criteria, which you can see in the screen. It was at the end of the call for proposals. Basically, the commission was very clear that they will give 30 points max for relevance. So they really wanted to have clarity and consistency of objectives and scope of the proposal. They wanted us with our solution to contribute to relevant EU strategic documents about migration, about supporting migrants, about employability and other documents. And also they wanted us to make sure that we are not building something which has already been built. So they wanted us to build on the previous results in the field and have European transnational dimension. This was also a priority. So relevance, and we needed, and it scores 30 points. So when we read this, we understood, yes, this is something we need to take special consideration about these parts of the relevance to score high. The second was quality, and quality is 50 points for quality. And here they're very clear, like logic links between the problem and between needs of the women, needs of the target group, and solution proposed. And then also clear methodology, timetable which is realistic, budget which is realistic, expertise and quality of consortium and team which is relevant for this call, that it's really something which will be a good outcome and also which will live after the project finishes. So, and best value for money. So this was also crystal clear, 50 points, and we followed all these criteria when we prepared the project. And third, what was impact? Impact, 20 points. It's very important. It's a social impact of our digital solution. Basically, they wanted us to describe how we will communicate, how we will make sure that as many women as possible will take part of this solution, what strategy we have in order to reach out for the target group, to make sure that it's not something we will develop and now this will not see the light, this digital solution, and also how we make sure that it's scalable solution and it's replicable, that we can replicate it and continue to work with this solution after the project finishes. So these were the elements which we really took into consideration to think through when we collected information. We needed to prepare these answers to have them ready. And this is very important that grant writer, in this case it was me, made sure that these elements were clearly answered, clearly integrated in the proposal, both in need analysis and in other parts. But many of these award criteria, it's something which is stated in need analysis, as you understand. So award criteria, this is what, after reading the call, reading the priorities, this is what I read really carefully. And I came back to this award criteria all the time during writing process, which took 3 or 4 months, the whole writing process of part B. So yes, advice, read carefully award criteria. So our solution, when we read this award criteria, our solution basically, it's, as I said, it's a deep tech. It's not a deep tech, it's a technical solution where we develop a digital matchmaking portal for employers and migrant women around specific challenges. It's basically a European platform where employers publish their challenges and women can take it as a paid task. And then by completing this task as freelancers, they get paid from employers. And in this way, it's a quick matchmaking. First of all, it's a paid work. So migrant women are directly involved in a paid work within their area of expertise, marketing, IT, sales, or other expertise. And also it's a chance to meet employers and to go away from all the CVs and everything else traditional, which doesn't work, and really meet employers and get job like this very quickly. So basically, this is something, this solution we had in mind for a long time ago. And when we saw this call, when we saw the social impact, what they want in this call, then we thought this is brilliant for our solution. So as you see, we didn't change the core of our activities too much. We didn't change or adapt our services. We found the call which was suitable for what we already do, and we need this money to build this solution. We can either go to investors and try to pitch to get this money through the channels which normally startups do, but we decided not to do that because we don't want to share equity. We want instead receive European money in order to build this portal, and to own the solution only this consortium which builds, which works already with that. So as you see, we had the call, we have the solution, which is like, yes, it's our solution. It's a strategic decision by leadership in all organizations involved. And this is something which is already core of our business. So we do not go away from our business too far. We basically use this money strategically to build on, to continue build on our business. And here is a little bit for you, food for thoughts. I prepared a little exercise to think. So you will get approximately 1 minute reading now for a couple of slides, where you can choose which one of the statements you feel is more correct, more close to how the need analysis should be described. And I gave you one wrong answer and one right answer. So you can think a little bit yourself, as we can't in this workshop write ourselves. Normally when we train, we write your own proposals and we train this. But now please read between these two gaps, how we identified gaps, and choose the gap which is better described, basically. So you can see that for this project, priority was to promote the social economic integration of migrant women and improve integration support provided to them. This was a very general priority. And when we identified gap in this partnership, after collecting information, doing a tree of change exercise, and making a brainstorming, then we described gap, which we then transformed to our part B as a problem description. So please read both versions and write in the chat. Do you think it's version A, which is more correct, which is more winning proposal of a problem, or is it version B? So I think that it was enough time to read. So basically, the right answer is version A, because if you read carefully part B, it says exactly the same, but it's very vague and very general. It says that across Europe, basically, this is a problem. It doesn't define what exactly is the problem. There is no statistics how many women are starting their own business, native born women compared to migrant women. It doesn't say how many women start their business. It doesn't say what previous projects said. So it's basically just stating very generally what the gap is. And gap B is something what ChatGPT would generate to you if you don't have data, if you don't have statistics, if you don't have data which you have collected before. So please avoid this mistake. Collect data, answer those three questions which I have given in workshop 2, and then you have very concrete gap described. Basically, gap, this is your problem with statistics and very concrete data. And here it doesn't matter exactly the words, which words you are choosing. I know that many grant writers, especially in you, go for trying to sound very smart, like as complicated terminology as you can find. But actually, the truth is the opposite. The evaluators, and I was evaluated for 6 years, I can say that evaluators really appreciate simple language. So write as simple as possible, as you would explain to a, I don't know, 15-year-old brother or sister of yours what is the problem, and with statistics. So avoid these long sentences with very complicated general terminology, which is also generated by ChatGPT if you don't ask more concrete question. So be simple and give statistics from what we discussed in workshop 2, and then you will have your gap or your problem described very concretely, and then you just copy paste in your part B. General objective, it's also the same task. If you read both, please choose the one which is correct general objective. And if you remember correctly, general objective is your vision, is something which which you promise to the funder you will achieve in the long term, probably not exactly by this project during these 2 or 3 years you are working, but this project will contribute in the long term to that direction, to that bigger picture, to that priority. So which one do you think is correct general objective for this proposal of Trust Accelerator in AMI program? So please choose in the chat A or B. And now I will reveal the correct answer, and the correct answer is B. Even though, of course, you can just rephrase the priority and just write as part A very shortly that it is to promote inclusion of migrant women, but it's totally not clear how. Even though it's a general objective and it's a long term, but you really need to be much more specific. You need to at least include your target group, and it's not any migrant women, but actually this project about highly skilled migrant women. So it was much more specific group we are targeting with our solution. And also we want not only have access to meaningful work opportunity, we want to be much more clear towards the funder and say that we want to facilitate their access to both employment and self-employment. And we want to do it through skill-based collaboration with SME and also data-driven solution. So even though it's your general objective, it's your vision, it's something which will contribute in the long term, but it really needs to be, you need to explain in this general objective how. not only just rephrase the priority of the call, but really explain how exactly your solution will contribute to that. And part B is a correct part. Here is specific objectives. When we know the gap, when we know this general objective in need analysis, then we need also to provide data, all the statistics and everything, and define specific objectives. And here you have also two options to choose. Which one you think better specific objective, option A or option B? Please read and answer in the chat, and then I will share the correct answer. Yes, even the first eye cast, when you check the first time this, you can see that part B, of course, is the correct solution, because specific objectives is really specific objectives. Even though if in general objective you don't need to write any numbers, how many you will reach out to, how many women you will train, how many SMEs you will train, which percentage of them will start their own business or get employed. In specific objectives, these indicators are really important. So difference between general objective, which is a direction which you show with your solution. Specific objective is about basically indicators. Here you really need to include numbers and concrete data. So basically you need to and it's okay if it's 3 to 5 specific objectives. Don't write 10, because more than 5, it becomes redundant, it becomes too much, because you will also have other parts of the application where you will explain indicators, like you will write, it's always a set of quantitative and qualitative indicators, which is a measure of your success. And there you will be repeating a little bit specific objectives and add new indicators. Normally, these indicators are about number of workshops, number of training activities, number which training material you will develop, number of copies you will publish, number of sessions. So all these indicators you will have chance to write later in the proposal, but in a specific objectives, you need to describe exactly when it comes, what will change for the target group, how many of the target group you will reach out, how many countries, and percentage. You need to show social impact by shift, both the number of people and percentage of people. What will happen with the target group at the end of your project? And also in the specific objective, it's where you normally describe your solutions, what you develop. If you develop a platform, if you develop policies, if you develop books, so you basically describe, we develop this, we will reach out this many people, and this many percentage of these people will do this and that, and other objectives. So 3 to 5 is fine with the specific objectives, better 3 than 5, but 5 is also okay for bigger projects. And then indicators, it can be 10, 20, 30 indicators, like KPIs basically of the project. You will have chance to answer later. So yes, part B is the correct one, and this is the part which we wrote in our applications. This is what we promised in need analysis. And target groups. You need to always describe target groups in this or that format. And these are, again, two versions of that answer. Which one is correct? Guess in the chat, and I will reveal the right one. Yes. Even though we can see it's a bit confusing, and I wanted to confuse you on purpose, even though you can see in part B that it's 1,000 migrant women, 250 SMEs, it's like you attracted that it's numbers and it's very concrete, but It's really not the right answer. The right answer is A, because target groups, you need to describe target groups. You really need to define target groups, their profile. Of course, it's good if you want to integrate numbers even here, it's fine, but otherwise you can mention number, how many of women and how many of SMEs will participate in different activities. You can define it in your KPIs or in your specific objectives. But when you define target groups, rather than defining how many, you need to describe profile. Whom exactly are you reaching out? You are not reaching out to all migrant women in European Union. You're reaching out to highly skilled migrant women. And please explain what you mean by highly skilled. In our case, it was ILO, International Labour Organization, and they have this scale. So we chose level 5 to 8. It's higher vocational or professional education and higher academic education. So we defined it really like these are levels in ILO scale. These women we will target, and these women we will invite to our platform, not all other women, and also owners and managers responsible for hiring and at SME. And this can be defined even better, like which kind of SME, which sectors, and stuff like that. It depends on your solution, but we wanted actually to have the open platform for all SMEs who struggle with talent, and people who are recruiting there, they are our target group. So basically, it's a little bit more open, but it's better to describe who at SMEs rather than number of SMEs. So yeah, the correct answer here is A, because you are describing profile of your target groups. And the last but not least, when you have described your need analysis when it comes to problem, when it comes to statistics, when it comes to general objectives, specific objectives, and target groups, you should not forget about storytelling, because need analysis is basically a pitch. So in this part B, where you need also to explain action plan and budget and everything, they are more technical parts. Basically, you answer the questions. But in need analysis, in these first parts, which are called like excellence or background to how they called in different applications, this is the pitch. So here you really need to be, apart from giving all this data in the correct way and concrete data, you really need to be a good storyteller. And that's why these parts, they're really important. The rest you can just write as it is, simple, and just answer the questions. But here you need to sell, you need to think how you present the information, not only what information you present. So, and here we need, in MIRA Sweden, we use a 3C model to make sure that we are a good storytellers in this need analysis, in these first parts of the application. And there are 3 criteria in 3C model. It's clarity, credibility, and connection. Clarity, it's you need to make this part, this need analysis, objective, and all these parts which I just mentioned. You need to make them instantly understandable, instantly. Start directly with the problem. Start directly, pitch like you would pitch to investors, like what you pitch. Prepare basically your pitch. Start with the problem, with objective, and make it instantly understandable. Use easy, simple language. Use visuals, use diagrams. You can really integrate all this data like visuals. You can integrate it in the application, but you need to be very clear, and the simpler the better. Ask ChatGPT. This is where you can also choose ChatGPT when you're ready with your need analysis, with your background information. Ask ChatGPT to write it as you were explaining it to 15-year-old. So the simpler the better. Avoid jargons. If it's acronyms, explain them. If it's data, give a clear links and explain where this data is taken from. But it's a life hack here is like, be a good storyteller. Explain like you would explain orally to me. If you would sell it to me via online presentation, how would you tell this to me? So try to adopt this style to your writing style. Don't use heavy like with very heavy data when it's not clear what you mean. So be clear. Clarity is very, very important for your evaluator to to read and to understand what you want with your application. Credibility. This we talked the whole workshop 2 and the whole workshop 3 today. Back up everything with evidence. Use reliable data sources. Combine quantitative facts with human stories. Show cases, not just symptoms. Be credible, and that's credibility is a combination of statistics, previous reports, and also stories of actual women, of actual children, of actual farmers, of actual IT teachers. Like, who is your target group? Use storytelling. Don't be afraid to use a story of Jenny or a story of Lilia or whoever is your representative of target group. Don't be afraid to use this in the application. The application becomes human warm when you actually refer to real people, to real workshop data, and of course evidence. And here really data hygiene is very important. Check data sources. Make sure that data which you integrate in the application, you really need to reinforce, like academic work, you really need to show where you take information from. Make sure that these sources are reliable. They're reliable. Don't use like just articles or yellow press or something. Like, make sure that this is official and reliable data, and this fun data to read. Human stories and reliable statistics and sources. And so this is credibility. And final, connection. Connection, the whole workshop 2 is about connection. Align with the founder's goals. So before you even start describing, before you start this writing process, before you start filling in this application part B, collect data and analyze data. And there are concrete techniques and practices how you do it, because then you will have all this data in your hands. And this is data which you will start to use in the different parts of the application. So don't start collecting the data when you start writing. First, make sure that you have a clear goal and it's connected, it's aligned with founders' goals. Collect information, analyze information, narrow information, and then start writing this information down in these templates, in this part B template, inclusive and most important in need analysis. So this is very important 3C model. So when you write, it's good to have it in mind. And also when you read the application, when you give application to someone or your colleagues or your team or your partners, when someone is reading, please make sure that you have these 3 parts in place: clarity, credibility, connection, and that your application involves them or based on them. So it's storytelling with data. So it's both fun, but also it's scientifically proven, part B and need analysis. And this was my final slide about writing need analysis in part B. In that slide, in this workshop, I have shared with you the methodology. I gave you step-by-step approach how you technically proceed with creating grant application in the portal, European Commission portal, how you download your part B, and how you start to work with part B, with the most important section of it. It's need analysis, which looks differently in different calls, but the point is always the same. You need to pitch, you need to convince the funder. So it's always the problem or the gap based on statistics, reports, and insights from the target groups. It's general objective, it's direction of your grant application and how you contribute to the funders' priorities. And it's specific objectives, what exactly you promise to achieve and for whom, your target groups, exactly the profile. Who are your target groups? because your target groups, like it's like what social issue you are solving and for whom you are solving it. When you have these parts in place, then comes the easier part, which we will cover in the next and final workshop of this series. It's about your action plan and about your budget, how you connect your action plan to this need analysis in a realistic way, and how you make a good balanced budget for the partnership you have, for the consortium you have invited to participate in this proposal. So basically, if you have this right, the final part, it takes really 1/4, 1/5 of the writing time. But this need analysis, this is what takes the most of the writing time and need the most of the teamwork. Action plan can be, if it's agreed with the team, it can be done by grant writer solely. And this, we will talk more about that next time. So now we will open up for questions, but before I close my presentation and open the chat, I want to share this opportunity with you. In November, we will start a training for grant writers, because you have noticed that these workshops which we're going through, they are targeting grant writers, those who physically write the proposals. And it can be within your startups of your organizations, or it can be also for those who are professionally grant writers and write for a living. So basically, if you are a grant writer or you want to become a grant writer, join us. It will be in Ukrainian, this session. It will be a little group of people when we will meet 4 times during 1.5 months for 4 sessions, where we will work on your application. So basically, you will, at the end of this training, you will have application in hands, and also training and certificate of a grant writer from MIRA Sweden. And apart from training, you will also have one-on-one session with me or one of my colleagues based on your pains. Like, is it budget you want more to develop, or is it need analysis, or if you want partnership. So basically, it's one-on-one session, which will be both to help with your personal grant writing skills, but also to read and target your applications, which you will be working on even better. So you have a chance actually to win those projects, not only to learn how to write. So join us. Basically, it's a wait list, which will be in the presentation shared by Paulina as well to the participants of this workshop, and also subscribe to our newsletter. Every week, you will get hands-on news about upcoming opportunities, calls, grant writing tips and insights, and also project management tips and insights. So everything around social impact projects is in this weekly newsletter, and it costs nothing to join. So welcome to the community of MIRA Sweden.